Welcome back, Barrier Breakers, to another episode of The Balance Beam. I'm your host, Naketa Thigpen, president of Thigpen's Professionals, a life management consulting and professional development company. You all know that I'm a relationship expert focused on taking professional women who are entrepreneurs from idle to awesome. Today, I am ecstatic. You know me and my action words. I am absolutely ecstatic to welcome a friend. Andrea Williams is an amazing woman. She's co-founder of Women of Vision Empowerment Network, one of the empowerment groups that I belong to. She is a dynamic individual that I cannot wait to introduce to you in a few seconds. Andrea is an author. She's an owner of Soulfully Holistic Health Coaching and Financial Wellness for Women. She specializes in the area that I like to focus on, which is with busy women, because busy women are crazy. And she does such a great job of making sure that she rakes you back in. I love her. She's my colleague girl. She has sun in her face every single day, and I'm jealous all the time. Andrea, I want to welcome you. How are you today?
I am wonderful, Naketa. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Thank you. I am jealous. You know, it's very, very cold on the East Coast side, and of course you always get that 70 to 80 degree weather even in the afternoon, so I'm hating on you a little bit today.
I have to say it is beautiful here in sunny California, and I'm enjoying every minute.
Oh, let's just rub it in, rub it in. Would you do us all the favor, because, you know, I could talk about you all day long, but people don't want to hear my voice. They want to hear yours. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Williams, as Naketa said, and I am the owner of Soulfully Holistic, which is a health coaching practice here in Dublin, California. And I teach women to live the lives that they deserve. I love to work with women to empower them to get their mojo back. And by mojo, I mean making our journey outstanding. We are here on this earth but one time, and I want to work with women to make sure that they enjoy and get everything that they deserve, be it through their finances, through their relationships, through emotional wellness. I meet them where they are and try to work with them to get the best life that they need and want and deserve.
Absolutely. So you work with people like me who are always busy and always cray-cray.
Absolutely. I'm working with, definitely working with that woman who works more than they live. We as professional women get caught up in the cycle of, having to take care of our family, having to go to school, having to just do so many things at one time and keeping those balls up in the air, keeping that balance. And sometimes we forget about ourselves. And so I like to kind of, work with women to say that it's okay to take care of you and get that self-care and to just really take care of themselves also, in addition to doing the other things that they are responsible for.
Absolutely. Now, I will say that, I'm extremely focused on balance and boundaries and boldness and all that, and that's one of the things that connect us together, is that we enjoy the same things when it comes to that, making sure that we can infuse some time for us as women into our crazy lives. But I have to say that your approach to it with the health and wellness, especially the financial piece, which we'll touch on in a minute, but the health and wellness way that you go in with women, let's motivate each other with little contests like the one that just started. What is it, the Little Black Dress?
Starting the Little Black Dress, and different months I try to do different challenges and get people connected and motivated to exercising and healthy eating. So the next one that'll be going on will be the Little Black Dress. Getting ready for the new year,
and that's sexy because we all want to be there.
Absolutely.
But I have to say that you make your challenges fun. Like, I know we did one in the summer, and although I will put the disclaimer out, Andrea and I are very good friends. We're coworkers. We're peer collaborators. We do a lot of great things. But every coach needs a coach. Every trainer needs a trainer. Every therapist needs a therapist. And even if you are not a primary coach for someone, if you have something that you can offer to assist them with some area that's a challenge for them, you respect someone's skills and you move forward and you partner with them and you make sure that you invest in them. So I invest in her and she invests in me in different things that we're doing, not just as friends like, hey, hook me up with that, but we'll really support each other and share the work, which I love about her, as well as my other woven sisters in that respect. And one challenge that you had, which I have to make fun of you on just a little bit because of my foolery with it, was the journal challenge. And earlier this summer of 2013. That was an amazing challenge. It was 30 days, and I have a very difficult time with reminding myself to take that time to write because I'm so busy writing for work and writing for business and blogging and all those kind of good things that this one really made me focus in. And I lost 7 pounds during that 30 days. I toned up, I tightened up, just following what you said. I probably would have did even more if I really followed it to a T, but I'm a little bit of a cheater, you know that. So I skimmed a little bit with certain things, the measurements and things we were supposed to do. But it was an amazing 30-day challenge. I also have some girlfriends who are local on this side that also participated in it, and they had an incredible time. But it was a very emotional 30 days as well. Some of the questions that you had go in there, and granted, I'm a clinician, and I know what you're supposed to tap in, and I know what you're supposed to do, but you're so busy doing it for other people that we often don't take that time for us, and that 30 days was perfect because your questions were inquisitive and really made us focus in and look at how we were handling things around our health and wellness from that perspective, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it was a fun challenge. It was, after writing the wellness journal, creating that, I wanted to share it with everyone, and doing the 30 days was part of my thought process. I wanted to tap into, women really being able to sit down and really find their truth and find out what was going on with them, not necessarily having to share it, with anybody else, but really sitting down and taking some me time and focusing on what they needed and what they wanted and where they wanted to go. One of the questions was write a letter to someone that you need to forgive, so simple things like that we think about but we don't do, and just really wanted to focus and really tap into some other areas that people don't typically touch on to kind of avoid those areas.
Absolutely, and those were extremely helpful things. I said I had to pick on you a little bit because I know your background is you've been 20-plus years in mental health as well, so it was always interesting when we are kind of analyzing each other and what made her ask this question and why do I have to do this, but really removing our analytical selves and just diving into it a little bit. It was fun, challenging, a little stressful because you really had to look at yourself, and like all things, you have to be comfortable with your discomfort. We talk about that all the time. And it really did make us look in the mirror. I look in the mirror every day emotionally and make sure I check myself. But this 30 days was a very different 30 days. In the middle of a lot of personal craziness that was happening as well as professional transitions, which were awesome and very successful, it still was a lot of stress. And taking that time out for 10 to 15 minutes every day for 30 days was very, very, it was just needed. It was very much needed. So I appreciated it, but I was a little upset with you, like, why is she trying to be my therapist long distance?
I'm everywhere. You know that.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I really wanted to talk to you because I know you know this topic well about transitions. You are definitely someone that I know has dealt with a lot, quite a few, just in the last couple of years that I've known you. You've moved across the country. Your job titles have changed. Your promotion levels have changed. You've taken on larger supervision levels. You've started a couple of businesses, stair-stepped them, of course, because you're multi-platform, and you were already in a business as a Beachbody coach simultaneous with all this and writing a book. And like you mentioned, in addition to the books that you've written and co-authored, you also started a wellness journal. Like, how are you dealing with all this transition and not wanting to pull your own hair out? Because you are a perfect client for yourself. You're that busy professional woman who's also an entrepreneur.
Wow. After you said all that, I'm like, I've done all that? Yes, there has been a lot of transition over the last 7 years. prior to 7 years ago, I lived in New Jersey, and I decided I wanted to move and be closer to family, so I moved to Maryland, and I was there for 6 years, and we unfortunately lost the contract in Maryland, so I ended up transferring to California. And just being able to find that balance is very important. You know, there has been a lot of transition, and with each move, you're right, there has been more responsibility, more, you know, budgetary, financial responsibility through my job and my position. So with that comes more stress or more, you know, days that are longer. But just really trying to find that balance. I am a planner, so I really need to look at what my day is going to look like, and that depends on what else I can do. You know, I try not to overbook myself, you know, but I also try to find ways to, you know, get some good me time in, be it a massage or go get my eyebrows waxed or, you know, a pedicure or something like that out of the week, and I make sure I exercise and kind of relieve stress that way. So just really trying to get that balance and focus on what's good for me, because what's good for me might not be good for you. So just really looking at, okay, when I feel my stress level, you know, getting a little high, okay, I got to restructure some things and move things around like chess pieces to make sure that I'm still in the game. Because if I'm down, you know, and out of the game, there's going to be a problem because it's just me, right, you know, doing this, you know, this whole thing. So it's just so important to really look at the big picture and be flexible. You know, everything doesn't have to be A, B, and C. Sometimes I go from A to Z, you know, to get things done, and just being really flexible with yourself and not overdoing it, and just knowing what your limitations are and your boundaries. You know, I went to a conference last year, and one of the things that we were taught was to, you know is okay, and then, you know, setting policies. So someone might ask me something, and if I really can't or don't want to do it, I might say, Naketa, that's just not my policy, you know, and move on, as opposed to him and hawing and thinking, oh, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. You know, just really being direct and true to yourself and setting those boundaries has helped me with the transition in every situation that I've come across in the last couple of years.
That is dynamic and awesome on so many levels. Like you just hit so many levels just now, and just identifying that balance is really individual. What's balanced for me is not necessarily balanced for you. You know, you are in a relationship, of course, but you do not have school-aged children. You live in a very different world in terms of you're a careerpreneur in its truest form. Like you're still in your profession 9 to 5 and running multiple businesses and making sure that you're getting your coaching in for yourself, as well as being available for friends and family who need you both professionally and personally. So your balance and what your structure is set up to do is accommodating you, where it would be very different from me, where I'm, you know, married in a relationship, obviously, well, I would hope so, I'm married, right? Married with school-age children, 17 and almost 13, and just I'm 100% entrepreneur, but I'm still a careerpreneur because I invest in my profession daily with keeping up my license and making sure that I attend all the things that I'm supposed to maintain that from a therapeutic standpoint. It's a very different system. However, you hit such a great point. At the end of the day, the commonality is about those policies or those boundaries that you set up while you're creating your balance, because there are some staples like your health and wellness, your financial wellness, making sure that you're taking care of those things that don't change from person to person, just the way that it's implemented change. You're just dynamic. That was amazing.
Thank you, ma'am. It doesn't happen overnight. You really have to, you know, kind of throw the pieces out there on the table and look at what's going to work for you, because what worked for me last year may not work for me this year. So, you know, I used to be that rigid person. I had to have A, B, and C, and sometimes it didn't work out too well for me. So really being able to be flexible and just, you know, fluid to where things can change at any moment, and it's okay. I mean, this is life. It's supposed to be enjoyed. So it doesn't have to be so structured all the time. Now, yes, there are things that have to be structured, but you have to identify what those things are and keep those in perspective. But the things that don't have to be so tight and rigid, just enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. You can say that twice, with enjoying what you have, because at any moment you could not have it. And I'm not trying to be morbid, but, just not talking about the reality that we're all going to leave this earth one way or another. But even in just your health, like, we take advantage of the fact that you can, you got up at whatever time, at 4 something in the morning, if not earlier, and went to hot yoga at 5:30 in the morning. There are some people that take 2 hours just to get out of the bed because of circumstances that they can't control, or have a hard time going to the ladies' room, or, they don't have those necessarily mobility issues, but they have challenges they have migraines that shut them down on a regular basis. And we do take for granted what's available to us to get done what we need to get done every day. Like, we just assume that we're going to hang up from this podcast and go along our plans, and everything could change in a moment. So you do have to take advantage of what's happening and be grateful for all of those things. I completely agree. You hit so many good points. I am curious. I was just sitting here thinking as you were talking, you're your own best client. You're a careerpreneur as well, and you work with, they don't necessarily have to be entrepreneurs, but you work with other really busy professional women. And you and I both know, just from the clinical background and aspects of things with transference, there's a lot of that is infectious and contagious. When you're dealing with clients that are kind of all over the place mentally, scattered, unorganized, their time management is shaky, you can do a lot of great things to help them infuse their balance that they need, and to really get on par with their, in your case, the health and wellness, and helping, go through their financial, records and papers, and just really helping them to get situated and learn where to save and do those different things. But does it ever find its way creeping over onto you? Do you ever feel like, wow, how did I start picking up that behavior that I just helped that client stop not that long ago? Has that ever happened to you?
I would say earlier on in my clinical work and coaching, it did, because I didn't know the pieces of the puzzle, and even though I knew about boundaries, didn't really know how to really protect myself, effectively. So I would say yes. Now, I pretty much, everybody is not going to be your client. So you might start with someone, and they might say they want this, and this, and pay you for, the service and everything, but they're not ready. And so really backing up to see what they really need, so that their chaos and crisis and stress doesn't flow into my life and change how I'm doing things, just really examining and focusing and helping them to decide if this is where they want to be, if this is, the goal they want to work on. Because sometimes people will say they want something and they're not ready, and that's okay, but really helping them examine that so that they're not wasting their time and you're not wasting your time trying to get them to a place that they don't want to be yet, or they're not ready, or they're not able to get to yet. So to answer your question, it used to flow into my life because I was like, oh, God, I just want to fix and save everybody. But just really having to back up and examine what's going on at the time, and not really take on too much of that emotional stuff, and helping people to really examine and decide what they need and want at the time.
Absolutely. Do you find that your clinical tools have been a hindrance or a help in you transitioning to a non-clinical aspect of it in your entrepreneur self with the coaching?
That's a good question, Naketa. It's been amazing because I learned so much, doing clinical work, but coaching is not a clinical tool. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I'm like, okay, no. Back up, stop overanalyzing, relax, So sometimes I have to take that hat off to make sure that I'm 100% in with the client and focused on what they need, as opposed to trying to clinically change the situation.
Absolutely. I thought about that because it was a question and formed in a different way that was pitched to me when someone they basically wanted, they heard everything else, speaker, author, blah, 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 coach, but what they grabbed onto, because it was obviously a projection of what their need was licensed clinical social worker. So when they called me, they really wanted to deal with their dysfunction, which is therapeutic, right? They didn't want to deal with the goal-oriented nature of what coaching is supposed to address, dealing with these smaller projects or long-term projects, but not going back into the dysfunction. Although the clinical tools are very helpful because they allow me to reach in to that professional, all the, the got it together, platform heels, stilettos, $300 suit, hair done to a T, makeup precise, that professional person that is just on it and has it so together, and I can reach past her and go in and get the person that's hiding in there and pull her out so she can really deal with herself and deal with the bigger, bolder issues in her life without damaging her. So the clinical tools allow me to do that without damaging, because you can go in too far, too deep and not realize it, but I'm not trying to diagnose you. I'm not trying to be your diagnostician or your clinician in that way. And I had to explain it. And then I sat back at the end of that consult like, well, was there something that I said or something that I did to allude to the fact that I wanted to practice the therapeutic when I'm really just using the tools to help me do what I do effectively as a life management consultant who's, trying to help women get unstuck and deal with those real big, bolder issues and break their barriers effectively. And I had to sit back and look, and exactly what you just said, I felt like I was being a little too deep, at times. And I was like, let me not, because of course we can. We do have those skill sets, those tools. We could break it down if you needed to, but that's not the role that I want to play. That's not the hat that I want to wear in my business. I want to make sure I use those tools, but I don't want to wear that hat. And sometimes I have to remind myself as well, don't give people more than what they can handle. That's first, and meet them where they're at. So what we did, and I was thinking about what you said in terms of not everybody being ready for what you have to offer and being mindful, doing applications, a screening process, some kind of filter to screen out if they're really ready to work with you. Because like you said, they'll pay for it, they'll be motivated to get going, and then they'll get in and be like, oh, that's not quite what I was ready for. And then they can't be a great testimonial of your success of how your program works because they weren't really committed to it because they weren't ready. So what I did find myself doing is I created, really simple. It's based off of the 5 stages of change, Prochaska, D. Clemente, trans-theoretical model, but I basically created a system that would tell me, without me having to be deep, where people are at. You're either a dreamer, a believer, a planner, a doer, or you're at success preservation. You're at one of those levels. And I know that the dreamers are, truly everything starts with a dream and ends in success if you're able to believe it and, plan it and activate it by doing it. But I realized that the dreamers are the people who are kind of just watching you on social media. They're looking at you. They're, maybe liking some of your posts. In our case, our mint moments. In your case, your health and wellness tips and all the great things you put out there with the herbs that you recommend for getting, great energy and, all those different things to keep you, together and energized and physically fit to be able to take on the world that day. And we know that the believers at a different stage that they believe in the possibility to dream. They just don't know what to do. And then the planners and the doers are who I work best with because they're ready to implement a strategic plan. They're trying to get things together and gather the information. And obviously the doers, my gift is activation. So that's the main place that I want to be. And I had to see where I was best at. Where was I best at in that to get the most out of what I was putting in to make sure I could bring it out of the other person. And we can work with dreamers and believers. We have things for them, but that's more passive. So it was really finding where I was best at to work with it. And I was curious if you felt like the financial wellness piece is where you're best at, and that's why you've infused it into your business model.
Well, you know what, I had gone, when I started my business, I was really focused on the health and wellness, and finance is part of health and wellness if you really look at it. And I really got focused on really wanting to help women with their finances after doing a talk in Atlanta. And that was the catalyst for me saying, this is where I need to be. This is part of my passion. This is what I really want to work with women on and empower them to increase their net worth, to not make the decisions that a lot of us have made in the past, which weren't the best decisions and consequences to those decisions. So the financial piece is just really my baby, and I'm really excited about it, creating new programs and, also, creating a nonprofit to work with high school and college age women, girls and women, to be financially literate, and not have to struggle or not get a job because they jacked up their credit cards and because they didn't have the skills or didn't know what to do. So the financial piece has just really come to the forefront and has been just very exciting for me.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where people's largest stress comes from. Sometimes their health and wellness is a product of their financial wellness not being as healthy as it should be, really. I can't eat organic food or choose the best produce and know to don't pick up things, the meat aisle, just because they have a manager special on it, even though it's a little green on the side, like knowing that that's not the best product if my financial wellness is really affected at that time. So I think that that's key, in addition to the knowledge that you have with where to go and how to get it.
Right. I think I just want to add to that, too, because when I was at this conference, I wasn't talking to younger women. I was talking to women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and having the feedback that I got that a lot of people just are not in a good place, was just really, it just really hit home. And I was just like, this is my passion.
Absolutely. And I think you'll be excellent at it, especially considering how frugal you are, but that's a whole separate balance beam conversation. That's a whole separate talk. But you are amazing. I'm so grateful that you were here. Do you have any other last-minute tips or advice for those balance beamers who are out there who are dealing with their own transition, whether it's the professional end with job transition and travel, or just trying to how to start that next level of their entrepreneurship that speaks to their passion? Like you said, you kind of came and evolved into it. Do you have any advice or tips for them you'd like to leave?
Well, I go back to my word mojo, making our journey outstanding, and that transition is going to happen in every area of our life. You get married, that's a transition. You have kids, that's a transition. So transition doesn't have to be a bad thing, but being able to open up and really accept the transition and the change, and some things may not go the way you anticipated, but being able to be flexible and just open to it. And you'll look back a couple of years later and say, oh, that was easy, that's how you do it, and really learn from the process and just live in your truth and just make it outstanding.
Absolutely. You are amazing. Did I say that already? You are so amazing.
Thanks, honey.
You're welcome. So where can people find you? They want more. They want to learn more about Soulfully Holistic or the contest, Little Black Dress, and all those different things that you do under any of your hats. Where can they come play with you?
If people are looking for health and wellness right now, the best place to get that information would be www.beachbodycoach.com, DREA 814, and that's DREA 814. And then the best way to contact me or to get further information about, financial wellness and things like that would be on Andrea Williams, health coach, and that's on Facebook. So I could be found on both of those places, and or you can email me at Soulfully Holistic, SOULFULLYHOLISTIC @AOL.com.
That's awesome. Thank you. And we're going to make sure that we put that information for those of you who are driving or listening to this on iTunes. We want to make sure that you have that. So just go to the YouTube channel under Thig Pro Media. Again, obviously, you probably found this here at Thig Pro Media, and you will find this episode of Balance Beam, which is episode number 11. We are again excited to have welcomed such a dynamic person. I'm always so honored and blessed to be able to interview high-quality professionals who are entrepreneurs doing their thing and just making it happen. Simply put, making it happen and being very raw and honest about their journey and how they've got to the level that they are now and what they're going to continue to do to make sure that they can empower other people to get there as well. So Balance Beamers, I have to thank you once again for tuning in. We invite you to come back and see us next month. Some great dynamic changes are coming down the pike, but I won't tease you too much. I'll just tell you to stay tuned.